Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going deep on something really fascinating, the way AI interacts with time, especially in language.
It really makes you think, right? Like, for us, time is just how we experience life. But for AI, it's a whole other challenge.
Absolutely. And our guide for this deep dive is Zen, who's doing incredible work in XR and AI. He's even building those digital worlds. Have you heard of New Paradigm.City?
Oh, Zen's brilliant. That spatial thinking of his, even thinking in fractals, it really shapes how he sees AI.
So, using Zen's work as our starting point, the question we're tackling is, how does AI handle time when it's processing, understanding, even creating language?
Well, first, think about how we use language to talk about time. Tenses, past, present, future, and all the little cues we give each other. AI needs to crack that code to communicate with us.
Makes sense. Like if I tell my assistant, remind me about a meeting tomorrow, it can't treat tomorrow just as a word, right? It has to get that it's relative to now.
Exactly, and that's just one tiny example. Zen's overview shows just how many AI applications rely on time. It's way bigger than just reminders on our calendars.
He had a pretty impressive list, like, what was it, temporal anomaly detection. Sounds super complex.
It is, but also really cool. Imagine AI looking at data over time. Could be anything. Network traffic, stock prices, even what music you listen to. If there's a weird spike, something out of the ordinary, that could be a big deal.
I'm starting to get it. So it's finding patterns in time. And when something breaks the pattern, boom, the AI flags it. But how does that actually work in, like, the real world?
Think about security. AI could be watching network activity, and if there's suddenly a huge data transfer, that could mean a cyber attack. Or, in healthcare, it's monitoring a patient, and if their vitals go haywire, doctors get alerted right away.
So like a high-tech watchdog, always on the lookout for trouble.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just spotting problems. AI can use time to manage stuff, make our lives easier, even in simple ways.
You mean like the dream of the perfect smart home? Lights turning on when you get home, coffee ready when you wake up?
That's it. Those systems need AI that gets time to make those things happen based on your schedule. When to water the lawn, adjust the thermostat, all based on your habits.
Now that's a future I can get behind. But what about those chatbots everyone's talking about? Where does time fit in with them?
That's where something called temporal memory is crucial. For a chatbot to feel like a real conversation, it needs to remember what you talked about before. Let's say you're asking about travel plans, and a few days later you ask about hotels. It should remember those plans and make suggestions based on that.
So it's building a timeline of your chats, almost like another person would.
Exactly. That back and forth is what makes it feel natural. But Zen takes this even further. He compares two kinds of NLP, and it gets really interesting.
Yeah, his unique perspective really comes out there. For those just tuning in, can you break down what those two NLPs are all about?
Sure. So NLP1, that's neuro-linguistic programming, that's all about how we communicate, how thoughts, language, and behavior connect. It's big in therapy, helping people change how they think.
So it's focused on how humans use language.
Right. Now, NLP2 is natural language processing, which is about computers understanding our language. That's what powers those chatbots, virtual assistants, all that.
Okay, so NLP1 is humans, NLP2 is machines, both using language. But what's the connection to time here?
That's the brilliant part. Zen says both fields, even though they have different goals, are totally tied to time and how it's expressed in what we say and write.
Give us an example. How does that actually work?
Think about verb tenses, past, present, future. A therapist using NLP1 might help someone reframe a past experience, while an NLP2 programmer needs to make sure the chatbot gets the difference between I went to the store and I will go to the store.
So they're both dealing with how we experience and talk about time, just from different angles. That's a neat connection I wouldn't have thought of.
And with that spatial thinking of his, Zen sees these fields as connected, almost like on a fractal, where the small scale and the large scale of language and time are constantly influencing each other.
Okay, that's blowing my mind a little. This is why I love these deep dives. You always find these weird, cool connections that make me think differently.
Well, gotta give Zen credit for setting us on this path. He's really challenging how we think about AI and its whole relationship with time.
Definitely. And speaking of challenges, he also brought up something that's getting more and more relevant, the sheer amount of content AI is creating these days.
Right, and that loops back to time in a fascinating way. As AI gets better at writing, research articles, even creative stuff, we're drowning in information.
It's true. Time feels faster because there's always something new to catch up on. Like, I need to read faster, think faster, just to keep up.
Exactly. That begs the question, how do we pick what's important in all that noise? How do we make sure the good stuff doesn't get lost?
It's like we need AI to help us manage the very content it's creating.
Mm.
Kind of ironic, right?
It is, and it shows we need AI that not only gets the content, but also its relevance to time. What matters most now? What might be useful in the future? These are big questions, but AI might be able to help us find the answers.
Wow, this is all so thought-provoking. It's like you said, AI and time, they're connected in so many ways, and it's changing everything.
Absolutely. And it's only going to get more complex and more fascinating as AI keeps evolving.
I'm ready for the ride. We've covered so much already, from how AI understands time in the first place to all those crazy applications and the amazing connections Zen pointed out. I need a moment to process it all.
It has been a whirlwind tour.
Before we take a break, I know Zen shared a ton of resources, links, papers, all that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely worth checking those out if you want to dive deeper into all this.
Be sure to put those in the show notes. Now, as we head into part 2, what are some key things you want listeners to think about as we continue this exploration?
I think the main takeaway is this. How AI deals with time, it's complicated, and it affects our lives in so many ways, both right now and down the line.
I love that. Okay, everyone, be sure to stick around for part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into these ideas with Zen as our guide.
You know, it's crazy to think AI isn't just figuring out time, it's using it to, make choices, predictions, even art.
It's funny, right? We think of AI as this futuristic thing, but it's making us rethink something so basic. Time itself.
Exactly. That's something Zen talks about. All that content AI is making, plus how it can analyze time, it's changing how we experience time.
It feels like time's getting squeezed,
Yeah.
So much info, so fast, it's hard to keep up. Like we need new words, new ways to think about it, just to grasp how quickly things are changing.
And that's where Zen's spatial thinking is so helpful. Time isn't just a line, it's more like a whole landscape with ups and downs, connections everywhere. And AI, by looking at tons of data over time, it's giving us a new map of that landscape.
That's a great way to put it. Makes me think AI could help us navigate this crazy timescape. Zooming in and out of different scales, seeing the big picture and the small details, making choices with more historical context.
That's the potential, using AI to see time better than we can on our own.
It's mind-blowing. But with all this progress, it makes me wonder, what does it mean for us day to day? How's this changing how we live, work, even just interact with the world?
$1 million question. Right, we're all figuring that out as we go. Well, one thing's for sure, how we think about time, that's got to change, just like AI is changing.
So it's not about resisting, it's about adapting, learning along the way.
Exactly. AI isn't just automating stuff, it's changing our whole relationship with time. And as Zen says with his way of looking at things, there are so many exciting possibilities out there.
It really is inspiring. And speaking of Zen, you mentioned he shared a bunch of resources, links, papers, all that good stuff.
He did. Definitely worth checking those out if you want to go deeper down this rabbit hole.
We'll have all that in the show notes for sure.
Yep.
So as we wrap up this part, what's the one big idea you want listeners to take away?
The big takeaway. AI and time, it's not just tech stuff. It's a fundamental shift in how we understand the world. And as we figure this out, we need to be curious, open-minded, and ready to question what time even is.
Beautifully said. And with that, huge thanks to Zen for inspiring this whole deep dive. His work is truly pushing boundaries, and we encourage everyone to check it out.
Absolutely. Zen's insights are a gift, reminding us that AI isn't something to fear, it's something to explore with a sense of wonder and possibility.
I couldn't agree more. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this journey through time and language. We hope you've enjoyed the deep dive. As we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but feel amazed by how much AI is changing things.
It really is. And I think what Zen has shown us so well is this change, it goes even deeper than we think, right, to how we understand time itself.
It's true. We started talking about how AI has to get time to talk to us, but it's so much bigger than that now.
Exactly. AI isn't just copying how we think about time, it's reshaping it, giving us these new tools to look at the past, see what might happen in the future, even create whole new ways of experiencing time.
Almost like AI is giving us a whole new language for time.
I love that analogy. And like any new language, it takes work to get fluent. But think about the possibilities. Using AI to make time work for you, cut out distractions, focus on what really matters.
That's an amazing thought. And it shows we need to not just build AI that gets time, but build it in a way that helps us use it better, more ethically too.
Absolutely. We can't ignore The potential downsides, like how do we make sure AI doesn't make existing inequalities around time and information worse? How do we stop it from creating new biases?
Those are the big
Yeah.
questions. And it shows why it's so important to have these conversations now while AI is still developing.
I agree. We need to be thoughtful about what values we want in these technologies, what kind of future we're building with them.
Zin's work is a perfect example of how to approach this, with curiosity, creativity, and a real understanding of what it means to be human.
He's a true inspiration, showing us that AI's future isn't set in stone. It's something we all shape by the choices we make, the things we do, the conversations we have.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring these ideas, keep asking those tough questions, and keep imagining what's possible as AI and time become more and more intertwined.
The future is ours to create, and each of us has a part to play.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through time and language. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.